So if you would all turn on your microphones, there's a switch on the top. And when you speak, please speak into the microphones. Otherwise, the recording won't pick you up at all. So please hold the microphone close to your mouth to speak.
Thank you. Is that loud enough? I've set a couple of meeting goals, which is really going to be extended into our August meeting. There's not a July meeting, but we have been focusing so much on our land care projects and during COVID have been at a dormant, and yet we're still wanting to reflect on the activities that we've done and think about to evaluate them in the projects. And I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. The meaningful bylaws, it's not that they weren't meaningful, but they were a little outdated and needed to have some new language since 2012. And I want to thank all of you for being here today and recognizing we do have one town person and Martha Campbell. And if we have a meeting here in August, I think of the publicity I might try to get out, but to see if we can get more town people to visit. But it is wonderful to be in a beautiful space to see your eyes and your expressions. And we will still try to be on track for the 1 hour meeting. Let's review our minutes of the previous meeting of May 5th. And Meredith, thank you again. Is there any corrections or additions to these minutes?
I think there was one I spelled.
Okay. There was one misspelling. We always get a lot of different spellings or hyphens from Lynn Withia. Well,
I know, that's,
and at any rate, all is well there. And I have a few comments regarding some of the reports from the last year, from last month. Do I have any other comments or suggestions or additions? If not, could I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you.
So moved.
So moved by Maggie Ray. Thank you. All right. Today's agenda. There's one thing that I'm not sure if I want to put it on here because of the fact that I just read Friday that we're having a 4th of July parade. But traditionally, there has been a float or an entry from Landcare. And I just wanted to open up your thoughts about it. Maggie has been probably using beetles and hellbenders for the last 2 times. We could always run them again, but there are no hellbenders around. But what are your thoughts? I'm not real sure if they're opening it to other other people. Someone, Jean?
Something that would be easy to, something that would be easy to put together would be the Ivy League. Just show up in gardening clothes and big hats with your clippers and your loppers and make a little cadre.
Now there is a banner that could be held with the gardeners around it. That would be a suggestion. And Jean, I'll get back to you with perhaps that idea. How about the fact that Jason has his Rangers, and sometimes he's used his truck in the parade too, and that is a representation of our land care. But if there is a number of only certain number of entries, if it's really the club program, or I'll just let you know by email. All right. Any other thoughts of additions for our agenda items? Anything else that needed to be, or you question? We'll go then to the budget report, current status. And Alex, I did get one from Darlene, but you can report to us for the May.
I actually haven't had a chance to read the report myself. I was out yesterday.
Yes. Excellent. Well, Darlene has been in the hospital with surgery because of her accident, but she did get back to me. It was very kind of her. And Angie Murphy, our town clerk, has also updated me of those recent transactions, which would have been the payment from the UPS of the rain garden brochures, as well as a reimbursement personally to Patty Powell, who is unable to be here today, but I'm going to report for her. But Patty's Hiking for Lichens was a sale price that we got, and it was of $80. So in the regular Landcare budget, it appears that we're down to $287.77. So I have some ideas for some of that usage, but I will report on that as we go down to our agenda. The bylaws, I'm going to let Maggie report about our meaningful bylaws.
The new bylaws are ready for your consideration. We will post a draft for you to review and comment on over the summer. In August, we will compile your responses and present a final document for approval. Alice will present our recommendations to the town board in September. If our request is approved, the new bylaws will go into effect at the beginning of January 2022. The revised version does not make any major changes in our day-to-day operations. Rather, it brings the bylaws up to date with the changes made in the Montreat Landcare since 2012. In August, we will present further clarifications concerning the entities, their relationship to the town, the newly proposed teams, and crafting a vision statement.
Thank you. When Maggie and I have chatted about this, I wanted to briefly just to tell you that in order for us as a nonprofit to have some really positive things happen on a website, in other words, kind of freebie things or places we can go and get templates and things that are, and also good communication. And nonprofits have what we call, obviously, the mission statement. An outstanding mission statement is the one of the tree board. And I looked at that one, and we know that there is a vision and a purpose for organizations. But the bylaws gives a statement of what we really are going to be accomplishing. And in some ways that can be measurable. And that's the important part of a mission statement. So some of this wording I'm going to be working with Maggie on because we have a mission to inspire citizens to act with vision and purpose, to courage and with courage and compassion, and to preserve, present, and make a meaningful difference in the environment of Montreat. That's kind of a summary nutshell of what we're trying to combine. And I noticed as I printed out, I didn't want to give you all an attachment of the present bylaws because it's no necessary. But there is purpose here, but we need to maybe think about how we can and with the help of the tree board chair, who did a beautiful job with explaining what a mission statement was on her tree board mission statement. Thank you, Ann Vincent. Any public comments?
Madam Chair.
Yes, past chair. I think we should have some comment about something.
Madam Chair.
Okay, we put Martha. Yes, oh,
Yeah.
Brad's a member of
Since
the.
I'm not a member of the committee, I guess that makes me public.
Yes,
But and I apologize for this, but I didn't have a copy of the agenda to look at. My understanding was that you'd like some input about plans around chestnut trees and stuff like that at some point. So just asked to be included.
yes. In fact, it could be a combination. Brad is the secretary of the tree board and has been coming to all of these land care meetings supporting Jean with her native plant sale. But when we have the tree board report, that will be down under the entity member reports. Oh, right there at the town of Montreat. Ann's going to just briefly mention what, and Brad can comment about the Chestnut Foundation. Yeah. Oh, Martha. Oh, go to the mic. Yes, you can practice getting up and down.
You have to lower that.
Oh, I will. Thank you. No, I was just gonna, this goes with something later, but since the public doesn't speak to individual items on the agenda, I was gonna say, Gil's in the creek this morning getting the sample for the first Wednesday testing of the swimming hole. We had a successful training. with Jeff Munson, who's the volunteer coordinator for the project this summer, but who's not able to participate as a sampler because his work at Sierra Nevada is now, and he's there. But there's still room for more volunteers when you get to that part of the agenda. And I've gotten a number of wonderful communications from Mountain True related. I guess I'm the link for them. I'll have to pass that along to somebody, and I send it to Jeff and to Grace. But we've gotten wonderful volunteers about their new summer staff. They have AmeriCorps and other interns who work with them, and we'll be working with them this summer. And we hope to get the results sooner this year. Last year, we couldn't find out for weeks what the sample had shown, just for our information. I don't think there's a reason to publish it every week for the community. But anyway, we're off and running on the sampling, and you can talk more about that later when you get to it on the agenda.
Bill sent me some information, and Jason. Jeff Mutz.
Jeff must. But anyway, we're off and running. He's in the creek getting it this morning. So.
It was precious yesterday. I went down to see them, and I took a picture, and Jeff brought both of his little boys, Oliver and Aiden. And Aiden's only 3 months old, and Oliver, they are growing up environmentally with that family. It's beautiful. I was thinking about putting the picture up but I didn't get permission from Jeff. But here he was. His wife was working, and he was getting us together and organized. Thank you, Martha. Our environmental concerns, we've been talking about those through the months, and I would like to say that the workday for tree board is one where you can obviously overlap with the problems that we're having with ivy on our trees. So there is a Montreat minute noted on that, right? So, and that is going to be on June the 8th, and meeting at Pratt Park, or no, at the gate. And it will be working around Pratt Park and somewhere up Virginia, you thought, maybe? Okay. All right. Going to the activity and projects reports. I do have this for Bill. He wrote to me at several. He's been organizing over the emails with Jeff Munson. And I have Jeff written down here because he is the swimming hole sampling coordinator. He's working on the schedule, as Martha just reported. And he's agreed to do the weekly summer sampling for bacteria content in Flat Creek. And they have sufficient number of citizens, scientists for the effort. He loves the word citizen scientists. At the request of Josh Holbrook, who's not here today, Bill provided last year's water quality data for him to use in a report. And Josh continues to know that that's got to be reported, and he will be coming in August for that. Bill has on the back burner the beginning of a manuscript to submit to a scientific journal to report about Montreat Landcare's work. So that's his news. And he also felt it was important when he reported last month that with increasing number of animals on the trails, that the quality of the water of Flat Creek can be observed and needs to be extended to reflect from one summer, maybe from COVID summer to opening up. So that's very important at Flat Creek. And I know that Mountain True has said, as Alice explained, that we have a pretty nice creek, very clean. They don't even want to come out here. They have too many other projects ahead of us. Do you want to speak to that, Alice?
Just to add on to that comment, but the places that are the most polluted, in the French Broad, according to Mountain True's most recent study, are most polluted from cow waste and dog waste. And so as we see more dog waste, if that's what's happening here, we need to remain vigilant, and I'm sure they will too. So.
First of many, I think so. Yeah. First of many dumb questions, I think, since I'm new.
This is how we get to know. We assume we know that everyone knows everything we know.
Tell me where the swimming hole is. Is that?
It's wonderful. I can take you there. I just found it the other day.
It's, if you go, well, if you go up Assembly Drive, that first house on the right,
Yeah.
the back of that,
Okay, that's what I thought maybe, but yeah. Right.
yeah.
Thank you.
And that's one that's been popular through the years, and particularly in the neighborhood of the new Shenandoah development.
Let me ask a stupid question. Are there snakes in the creek? Do they survive in the creek? I think it was what, there are? Oh, okay. Not-
But they're scared of you.
Are they poisonous or
That's what I keep saying.
not waterborne?
That's why I don't go in, not that there's snakes in the ocean, but I don't go in the ocean because of the sharks.
No, I was in there, I was down there yesterday, it was a mother with her two little boys, she said, get out, there's a snake in the water. And I thought, well, that's a great way to get them out and get them home. I didn't know there were snakes there.
You can see how much more fun we have when we're in person. That's a good question, Jim.
It's an environmental concern.
Okay. Fire-wise, Meredith Green represents that committee as well as being our secretary.
I talked to Nancy Midget, who's the chair of Firewise, and she just said that nothing really new to report other than she wants to send out in the Montreat Minute that the committee will do home assessments that goes, the information only stays with the homeowner. It's never passed on to anybody else, just to let you know what bushes you should have near your house or branches over your garage or something like that. Is it not on? Okay. Thank you. And then she's also working on a brochure to have one of the other members distribute to real estate agents to let them know about Firewise if they're selling houses in Montreat. And she wants to update the MLC website, which is this information here. And I think that's it. That was it.
In talking with Nancy, she has been very diligent with the community announcements from the conference center, and has said that obviously the pruning of mountain laurel. So she is keeping the public involved and educated on proper landscaping as well as protecting your home. The 3 sites that were on her Firewise on the website had no results and they were outdated. So she has just put in this one that I'm going to deliver to the website people. And that's one that's actually from North Carolina State. Fire resistant landscaping in North Carolina. Protect your home. And this is a flyer that can also be, maybe used. We're trying to keep the paper down, but this is 7 ways residents can reduce the risk their homes and property that will become fuel for a wildfire. And here's another 10 safety tips. So these are the 3 new sites that will be in her Firewise. Oh, from the National Fire Protection Association. So obviously, if that one you want to be linked with that, we can. And I think these are your comments. Yes, that's our tree board. All right, thank you, Meredith. I brought up, we have our rain garden project, and how I define a rain garden project is right now with the beautiful work of Katie Widmer in the brochure. That is our, police at work in the town of Montreat. The project of our rain garden is really to be able to have rain gardens begin to develop and encourage our citizens. Obviously, with new construction, there are requirements for that with that. In fact, if you see those new homes, one in particular I'm going to bring up right now is the Neely home on the corner of Maryland and Shenandoah. I have talked with him and William. Are we calling him Bill or William? Bill. Bill welcomed a group of us from Landcare to walk down when I just saw him at the post office, and it was actually Jean that was with me that we said, yes, we can come down, and it was very educational. It happened that Alice walks by as we were having our visit that day, But if you see a fire pit on the side road of Shenandoah, you can also look down that his house is up way up here on Maryland, and then it just slopes down. And he has worked many, many hours, and he wishes to be a contact person for educating what he's learned. He went on Google and he used all the different sites there to help him work with his landscape, and he's been planting native plants and birdhouses. So it's just a nature beautiful place to visit. And he has said that I can give out his name and his cell number to people. Also, Bill Roberts has been in touch with me saying that he's he's trying to cooperate with neighbors as well as the town and getting educational materials. And he and Bill Neely have also, the two Bills, have been talking. It can be done cheaply, but it can also be an expensive project, depending on if you get professional landscapers. But at some point, I'm going to be encouraging Bill to have an open, not house, an open garden, open yard, and to have, maybe by the time we have the committee by August, we can set up a time for any time. And he said you can walk through there without him being there. Bill Roberts is starting from scratch. He's making big holes in his yard and took up an asphalt driveway. And so Bill Neely went over and said, I think he needs to go deeper, because he learned projects, with his. And then he, of course, had grass. Bill Neely had grass that was planted, and those straw went down and clogged up his rain garden. So he learned about that. It's really a place that we can create a habitat for birds. I know that the one that is out here, I don't know who maintains, Alex, anything going on with the rain garden here at the town hall? Does some... No, go ahead. Okay, all right. Thank you. As Eric says, sometimes my husband, sometimes my mouth opens up and Grace's words come out. Thank you, Alex and Meredith.
Yes, I'm just going to tag on to what Grace reported with regard to Bill and Wanda Neely. They were up on my porch visiting several weeks ago. We had a wonderful visit. And I said, how in the world did you get all that done? You guys have just been nonstop. He said, COVID.
Uh-huh.
A year of COVID.
Yeah.
Got them lots of time.
Yep.
Lots of project. But it is beautiful.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you. All righty. Jim, I want to apologize publicly that Jim's name and email was not on our agenda a week ago, but we talked yesterday, and then I did give you one by email. Thank you.
I am yet to receive it, so I'll be watching for it.
I'm wondering if something's wrong with even within that email with the dot.
Yeah.
There's a.
I did get one.
Good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Well, since I'm a new member here, I don't have a great deal to report. I did attend a Zoom meeting of the NWF last month, and I think I distributed minutes to you all of that. There was another one yesterday, as it turns out, but I was up on the Parkway scouting for fishing places, and I didn't see the email until I got home, so I missed that one.
That is going to be on a YouTube, so I noticed that we both could. It was someone making a presentation. It was not like you were breaking out in groups. So I'll listen to it, and you can look at it, and we can glean from it.
The next one of those is in August, and so I will be sure to have a report about that one.
Thank you, Jim. We'll get you back on our email. Now, Jean Norris, native plant sale. Oh, you need your microphone.
Since we have not been able to have a native plant sale for 2 springs, we decided to go ahead and do the native plant sale in a booklet. So we have small little paragraphs and logos for many, if not all of the people who might have been here as presenters or salespeople or instructors, and some historical information in the front and some links which are live, I believe, on the website version. And there's certainly not too much to copy from the paper version. That would take you to the ordinances of the town that give recommended plants, that other things on the Landcare Project's website that take you to Firewise, that take you to pruning laurels and rhododendrons, that take you to plant selection information, including a brochure that we had reprinted from someone else's materials in a prior year. When I first started this, the idea was just to lift up our vendors and to try to build a little vendor loyalty so that the next time we have a plant sale, they make sure to send someone our way instead of to the larger competing sale in Asheville or in addition. But then as I began to work on it, I realized that things like the town ordinances were things that it took us a while to find. We actually had found them before we even came, but you kind of lose that in the process of moving. So I tried to collect in one place information that people would need if they're beginning their gardens or moving to Montreat anew. And I have copies here if anyone wants any. Let's see, the total cost of printing these in color on a little bit extra weight paper was $485.71.
That was 300.
That was for 300 copies, and it included a fairly substantial price break at one of those 100 marks. I don't remember which one. So if we reprinted a smaller amount than that, our price per copy would be a little higher. We also decided that we would accept donations when we gave them out. The donations have amounted to $137. We have about 175 copies remaining to give out, which means that we gave out quite a few copies. And that was not only outside the post office for 2 weeks of mornings, Gracie and I sitting there, except for one that we called on account of rain, or threatened rain, I forget which it was. We learned a lot about people's habits going to the post office. We would change the hours slightly in the
And
future.
people thought we were selling things, so they would.
Yes, yes. They would walk all the way around the post office to avoid coming in contact with us. It was bizarre. Oh, okay, let's see. What else do you need to know? We will try to get the others into the hands of homeowners. We have a number of them into the hands of homeowners and encourage people to take 2, if they had neighbors, or 3 if they had neighbors. So we have pretty good coverage among the homeowners here. But we also went through some of the contacts we made at the post office, the Black Mountain Beautification Committee meeting. 31 people were there.
Lake Tomahawk, right?
Yeah. It's very different from Landcare in that they appear to be an actual town committee, and they have a lot of landscaping responsibilities in the town. And some of their projects include digging up ratty areas behind the businesses and completely redesigning them. I mean, it's major landscaping when you get into that. And planting and weeding and so forth. But several of the people I had been in contact with while I put this together, so they got their individual copies, and we had some good questions, and we've been invited to join their committee. I think we might have enough to do in Montreat, but
Well, it was interesting because a couple that came by the post office, they were admiring the Landcare material that we had, and of course that was after the banner was found. I mean, before the banner was found. By the way, we do have our banner. We could have had more of a visibility of what we were doing at the post office, but they invited us to come that afternoon, and I said, oh, I would love to. And then at the last minute, I had some Zoom meetings with family, and so I did tell Gene and Brad when they text me, where are you? Because they were at Lake Tomahawk. And so impromptu, I would like to thank Jean for going, because they said, well, we have some people from Montreat. And she stood up and took questions and even gave a little summary of what we do as a Landcare, and the first Landcare to be in North Carolina. And And they had questions. They wanted to know who takes care of the hiking trails. I think that was because they were discussing the greenway. I mean, it's a very large budget that they have. I went online to look at it. But this couple that came were very interested and loved Montreat. Jean was showing you there that's what we had at the post office to.
Pretty basic.
And she worked hours on it. I found a lot.
Come on.
I found.
I'm not going to say it was nothing, but
Yeah, right.
hours we need to claim.
And we will have an August evaluation more about what we're doing. Go ahead, Alice. I can see she wants to.
Brochure.
Yeah.
Okay. Jean, thanks for that report, and what an innovation. But has there been reaction from the vendors to this? Are they pleased? Are they?
I
Curious.
have failed to send it to them yet, and it would have been timely to have been able to report on it in this meeting.
Okay.
A number of them were aware that we were going to do something because we had talked about it in the prior year. The vendors really haven't seen this yet,
Okay.
but maybe this afternoon I will actually send it out and then face the music.
And see.
It's
I
on.
think
It's on
already
there.
on the Landcare website. Yeah, I won't go to the expense of mailing them out, I don't think, at least not yet. I had something else that popped into my head and it's just popped out again. I guess it doesn't matter.
It happens. If it pops in, you can raise your hand. Children and outdoors update. Patty Powell is trying to find an assistant for once a month on a Wednesday morning. She cooks down at the Methodist Church for the homeless, and she is unable to come on Wednesdays. And sometimes the Zoom meetings, she was doing it at the church. They just started up with COVID, but she's a busy lady. It has been a wonderful team building for Dottie Schumann and for Patty Powell, with the gracious offering of the College of Montreat to use their printing facilities. And so in front of you at these tables I went to Dottie's house because she printed up the Nature Education Across Generations. And the name Nature Education Across Generations is what Olson Huff originally stated as the subject of his project that he went to, help me out, Martha. He went with the, the Blue Ridge Parkway Foundation, and was able to get a substantial endowment from And so he came as with Martha and myself many springs ago to begin a nature, and the donation of about $8,000 of that material went to the track trails of Kids in Parks track trail. The nature backpacks, as you explore this, you can see is the college. You get those available in the Bell Library. She is a very dedicated person in this, and I really want to applaud Patty for all the hard work and enthusiasm she brings to this project. Martha had appointed her, and she got her on board about this time last year, maybe. But this is what I feel is educational, but we also need to make sure that we are following up. She says, I think I'll know, because now that we're partners with them, if children check in with their parents, we can see how many times they're on this trail. It comes down from the lake and around Elizabeth Path, and the brochures are all up there, and that's where the lichens brochure is. So, and we want to thank Jason Nance for keeping the supply of that, and for the conference center that stores the boxes of all those brochures. So Patty says she misses you all and wish she could have been here. Any questions about?
I think we should have a vote of thanks to her for this, because this is really awesome.
Okay, how do you want to word that one, Maggie?
Let's just say thank you, Patty, in
All
the
right.
minutes. That'll work.
Okay, thank you, Patty, in the minutes. All in favor? No.
The
is really
This would be the
superb.
time if I was teaching, I would say, okay, everyone stand up and applaud.
Just to add on to the backpacks that are mentioned in here, there should be outside on that board the flyer about the backpacks, which typically we post down here, and Angie got it up for us. I did not see if it was there when I walked in, but may we all check it as we go out. It was several weeks ago when I brought it down here. It's the flyer about the backpacks and where you can get the backpacks and all that, but it
Yeah.
should be there.
Yeah, it's what Dottie
So
showed
thanks
us
to
at-
Angie.
Yeah, Dottie showed us at one of the meetings. Yeah. I'm going to be forwarding this into August because we have many members that could not come from the conference center as well as they're starting up this week. And Dottie is in Michigan. And when I saw Jason Nance this morning, Josh, I hadn't heard from Joshua Holbrook. So I would like to move that on our agenda. What I'm trying to attempt to do is to bring up and for you to do some of your thinking and homework about the projects that you have done or have experienced. Because I think that ideas for all the achievements we've done for the last COVID year and even parts of 2020, and then look ahead to the activities. I know that Jim and I have been talking, and I might bring this up later when we get down, Jim, to the other report, but I look at projects and maybe we could just go ahead and do it here. Let's do it here. It's not only projects, but possibly some fundraising activities to do for, we can keep putting the pot out for donations, but in fact, I thought about walking around the post office with that jar to see if we could get more money. But when we would see people getting out their 20, we would get real excited. But then they'd say, "Well, do you have change?" we wanted to say no. But and I want to thank our commissioner for also donating because she was there and checks in the mail. Thank you, and in my hands, and it's going to be given out. And you brought the money. Okay, so that's one source of money that we get. But Jim and I chatted, and he won't brag about himself, but he has so many talents. He's not only an author, but a retired architect as well as a professor of architect. If you get Peggy talking about him, and I listen always, but Peggy and Jim have been here for many years, but have permanently trying to get here because of his retirement from Memphis. You want to talk a little more about you before you talk about the new talent you're taking on?
No, not particularly.
You know, architects can paint.
I don't know what to say exactly. Alex and I worked together on the planning the town hall a couple of years ago, and I'm not practicing much anymore, but I do spend a lot of time doing watercolor painting, and I think that's where Grace is going with this. Should I say more about that? Or?
Sure. In particular, because of your relationship with the Joneses, the Walt Jones.
Yeah.
That beautiful sanctuary at the top of Great
Yeah,
Deer.
some of you all may remember Walt Jones. He was an architect from Memphis. His wife, Sissy, known by many people. My first job when I got out of graduate school as an architect was with Walt's firm in Memphis. So I go way back with them. And then, so one of the scenes that I have painted is the Nature Center.
Do we call it a sanctuary at
The sanctuary, yeah.
at the reservoir at the top?
Yeah, up at the top
Trailhead.
of Graybeard, yeah. Which might be a possibility for a note card for fundraising. I also have one of the gate, which I brought a sample of. I can pass that around if you like.
The one, it's interesting when you take photos of that sanctuary, the reservoir at the top, it has the reflection of all the trees in that water. And this is, do you have that one?
No, I do not have a sample card of that. This will give give you an idea of what the cards might be like.
Would you sell prints too? Maybe prints?
That's also a possibility, yes. Uh-huh.
This is what I got 5 years ago at the Montreat store, and this is sort of the boxing, and so I'm passing Jim. This is sort of the presentation that we would set up. Also, Joe Standard has sent me every one of his photos, and I don't know if that's what's maybe having a problem of getting an email to Jim, but I have thousands of photographs that Joe has given permission for us to use to make even postcards for fundraising. That could be the black and whites, and also the fact that he would only want to be acknowledged that he was the photographer. So he would, we can look into that. So those are the two areas, and we'll get more information. And I know that you ran some pricing because you and Peggy have done some work with the Precision Graphics.
Yeah, the one that I passed around was printed by Precision Graphics. They're about 90 cents each, including tax and the envelope that goes with it. And I imagine that was only for 50 cards, which we had printed for ourselves. I would guess that if the volume was larger than that, the price would go down a little bit, but that gives you an idea.
Any questions?
Sell them at the Blackburn or the Montreat bookstore?
Well, the bookstore is very, pretty much of a problem with the bookstore is that they have big markups, and we don't get that much. We tried that when we had something with the church that we wanted some aprons. It's one where it could be at the native plant sale and possibly, I mean, yeah, wait, well, if we sat out at the post office under the tent, we could do it there, but also the one sale in the spring could have, that would just be visitors coming to the plant sale in the Moore Center. I had some other thoughts about it, but I might want to wait until August because of a possibility of a partnership with the conference center, which I haven't heard back, but I made a proposal to the conference center about using the resource, the Gatehouse as a resource center, not only for conference programs, but also our Landcare. And that was received pretty well because we do have some funds that Nancy Hope was given through her memorial about 4 years ago. And it would include some improvement of the signage and even giving signage outside as to where you are and what's going on before you get out of the car and try to find places and where you're going. It brought up something when I talked with Jacqueline Clark, a very dear friend of Nancy Hope, when she was talking about how signage is very tricky here in Montreat, but that she knew that now with the opening of the town hall, that people might be coming here, getting out of the car, trying to look for information that maybe shouldn't be here because this is, it's a beautiful place we want people to come into. But Angie is not the welcome wagon lady, and that she was having some concern about that and how that signage could move you over to the gate where it says welcome, and then to have, they put out now because they have volunteers. They staff volunteers in the summer. But that room would be turned over. Robert Hope is the one son that lives in the home where Sam and Nancy live, and Sam was the past president of the MRA, and she was the volunteer director. And she was one of the most welcoming ladies, and she would be honored, as Robert said, and he was going to increase it to $1,000 donation to Landcare to restore and to maybe have, but we don't want to be presumptuous that we're trying to take over the gatehouse because it does belong to the conference center. But I think it's needed if we talk with the town as to how to navigate if we have information, and it's going to start up with people maybe coming here. And as Jacqueline says, people are going to get in and out of their car 3 times before they know what they're going to be doing. So at any rate, moving on, but that's possibly where, it's long story short, where some of these note cards carefully could be sold and have available with even prints. Thank you, Jim. Help me out if I'm out of the town of Montreat our entity membership reports. And this may be also after Alex, if you speak of it, and you can with the tree board.
Excuse me just a second, Grace, I'm sorry. I did find a photograph of the painting of the Walt Jones Center here, which I could pass around the phone if you want to
This
see
is the
that.
one. This is the one I printed. This is the one I printed up when he sent me a copy about a month ago. It's gorgeous. And if it goes off, just tap it, I guess.
Jim, did you discover this talent when you retired and had time to do it, or have you been doing it all along?
I've been doing it just as for fun for years, yeah. So,
I think if you have the skill of being an architect that moves into, and I think you mentioned one time, Jim, as we pass this around and then we'll go on to our entity reports, that you were even instructing your students when you were teaching that using, you want to finish the words for me?
well, in the architectural profession over the last several decades, there's been more and more reliance on computer-generated drawings and renderings, which is fine. But I've always thought that there was a place in the practice of architecture for hand drawing and painting that that expresses the feeling of an idea rather than just purely literally what it's going to look like. So I tried to encourage my students in drawing and painting, and so we added a class to our curriculum of that studio painting class, which was very successful, I thought.
Excellent. Actually, what we're, and I'm now getting back to this fundraising idea. With the number of people increasing the walking of the trails because of COVID, I'm talking with Joe about pictures that portray all of the different Montreat trails that you could note that where they were taken as a Elizabeth's Path, or, and that way people would know that they could buy the card and say, this is the trail I hiked on, Mom. And, you know, I'm not sure if people are using written notes and postcards, but it certainly could be revived with the impressions that we're getting from the talent of our citizens. And thank you, Jim. Okay. You got your microphone.
I think we have several reports this morning, but I did want to make one announcement, and then I'll hand it over to Alice and Ann and Meredith. But as you know, the town partnered with the Land of Sky to do a stormwater study last year, and that study is the study portion of that is finished. The written report hasn't been finalized yet. But the Land of Sky is going to be making a presentation to the town council at the June 10th town council meeting. So if you're interested in the results of that project, come to the town council meeting on June 10th.
Grace, the only report that I would have as commissioner is to celebrate our being in person in this
Yes.
glorious building. So I want to thank everyone who made that happen, who has made this happen, and for being here. I think with the rain garden out there, that is an extra benefit that spills over, literally spills over into everything. Even, and it is just a wonderful feeling to be here in person with you. Thank you. And Grace, thanks for your strong leadership through this Zoom period for these last months and getting us going this year. I will say this also, when walking down here from my home this morning, I passed two neighbors who asked about the ivy on the trees, and suggested that we start with Virginia. I said, it's already in the works. So thank you.
Miss Ann, tree board, or, oh.
No, I'm sorry.
Speaking of ivy on trees, we've set up a work day, the tree board, for the Ivy League is what Ann decided to call it, just to get people to. We had a concern about ivy on trees down on Virginia, and we hope it's just all on the town property. But one of the things we're going to do on June 8th is we're going to meet for a couple hours down at the gate. Daniel's going to help us get ivy pruned. We're going to concentrate right now on the Pratt Park area. And what we want to do as well is talk about then what we did so that we can put it in a brochure form and possibly post it on the net, on our website. What do you do about ivy on your trees? And it's been interesting. Some people love ivy on their trees. And it's like, it's a 50-50 thing. I think people here don't want the ivy because it doesn't kill the trees from feeding on the trees, but the weight causes the branches to break. For those of you who didn't know that yet. But so hopefully you can join us. We've got Andrew's putting a poster out here on the board, town bulletin board, and we're going to post this one up at the post office. And there's in the Montreat Minute, hopefully it'll run again this weekend. And also we put it in the community announcements for the conference center. So hopefully you all can come, somebody can come join us, bring your own tools, or we're going to do what we can to get as many tools together and then help us brainstorm how do we put all this information on paper so that we can get it out to people for their private property, because that's a whole different ball game. You had a question, Meredith? No. Okay. The other thing that we've become aware of, and I honestly, there's nothing like making a report that you're not totally conversant in. But there is a bill that has come out of committee in Raleigh, a House Bill 496. I finally found it. That talks about making all tree ordinances for private property need to be regulated by the North Carolina legislators. And the North Carolina, that's the way I'm reading it. And I haven't talked to anybody in depth about it. But if you have strong feelings about it or want to go read some more, North Carolina League of Municipalities has put out information, as well as the North Carolina Urban Forestry Council. So those are two resources for information about it. And once again, that's House Bill 496. It's come out of committee, so we're pretty sure it's going to hit the floor. Our local representative is John Ager, so feel free to contact him. Chuck Edwards is our local state senator. So those are the two people that would need to be contacted if you have strong feelings one way or the other. So the town of Montreat regulates trees on public property. That's what our ordinance deals with, but not with private. We make strong suggestions, however. So
I have that link that I got from Ann yesterday, and I'll send it to Meredith, and she can attach that. And I'll obviously send it to everyone as well. We'll test it again, see if Jim gets it.
Mountain True had alerted folks to this as well, and I sent that to you and to Brad a couple of weeks ago. And so there are lots of people working hard on this. The North Carolina League of Municipalities information is wonderful. And so for people who have interest in that would be, and the other organizations that we know as well, there's lots of information out there. So.
And I know Maggie sent me something from Sierra Club, also was apparently on top of it. So.
Okay, thank you. Oh, did you have anything else? I was going to go back to Brad because we did have the under the tree board. And Brad, if you want to just summarize briefly what you were talking about.
Yes. Am I live here? Yes. Okay. So you may be aware that Tree Board has been working on ways of developing interest in chestnuts and getting chestnuts back into the valley. Last year we managed to obtain and plant 4 chestnut trees. One of them up at by the field at Moore Center. One of them over here by our rain garden, and two on the other side of the street over here. And I understand that Anne has 10 other trees uh, that are in
babysitting.
her yard at this point, but they're going to be distributed eventually. The idea here is to try to find ways of developing information for the community, developing interest in chestnuts for the community, and getting some community organization going. This is, my idea that would facilitate participation in the larger project of working on chestnut trees in the community. I'm going to pass around a little piece of paper. If you're interested in one of the things would be an outing that I've been talking with him about a group of people, a small group of people from here going to one of the sites that the American Chestnut Foundation has that are relatively accessible to us to learn more hands-on about what they do and how we might participate at that level. If you just wanted to stay informed, you could also give me an email or something that I could send to you. And there's another, I'll pass this around and you give me whatever information you want to. I have question marks about those three different things. A little check mark would be fine. Another thing that we've become aware of is a thing that the American Chestnut Foundation does on a monthly basis called Chestnut Chat. And it's really an excellent Zoom based presentation of things relative to chestnut. The last one that I participated in, for example, was about how do you pick a site for planting chestnuts? What are the things you need to consider if you want to plant chestnuts and have them do okay? Understand that at this point there is no chestnut that is really truly resistant to the blight. No American chestnut. There are some that are more resistant than others, and part of this, as an opportunity for citizen science, would be that when you plant a tree, you become a partner with the American Chestnut Foundation in terms of tracking what happens to that tree, and does it survive, et cetera, et cetera. So I won't go on about that, but our contact person I've been talking to at the foundation is Samantha Bowers, and she's very supportive and is available with her own presentation to come and talk to the community about chestnuts, and will help us organize this outing that I'm talked about. The big challenge here is to find a date. So if you're interested in that part of it, maybe include a date that's, and I've mentioned a couple of them here. Originally, I was thinking a good time to book for an outing would be right immediately after July 4, in the few days that after, because that's the time when a lot of cottagers are in town. But it turns out that that's not really a good time for the Chestnut Foundation to do that. So, so I began then to focus on August 8 around that as at the end of the summer as a time. And I think that that's still a potentially viable date to use. One of the things that we're trying to work into this, because we need to have a day designated as an Arbor Day for the town, and a date around that would be good to do an Arbor Day celebration, since it's not connected with plant sale this year. So somewhere around that, I think might be a good time to do it, and that could include presentations and paper for people to see and things like that. I only just recently picked up that there might be some thinking going on amongst the Cottagers Association of not having the two meetings like they traditionally do, but maybe having something in between. And I don't know what that would be. If anybody has any good way to get a hold of the president of the Cottagers Association, please let me know, because that seems to be an issue. I exchanged messages with Ellen Dean, who's the vice chair of that, and she's apparently not getting very far with that either. So anyway, I welcome input and thoughts about any of this, but for the dates to consider mainly is or something around August 8th. And I'd say the sooner we can nail down a date, we should just go ahead and do it, and then let the others fall in with us.
I'd like to see a continuation of the conversation with you, and I'd be happy to be part of it and with the tree board as a joint kind of endeavor here, outing.
Yeah. Well, I think the other date we were looking towards is possibly Labor Day weekend, because something, I know the Scottish Society's got something going on, and so there might be more people in town. Tree City USA does not require us to actually have an Arbor Day celebration this year. The only thing we're required to do is a proclamation. But I think if we're going to do something with the chestnut, I'd love to make it an Arbor Day celebration of some sort, and have, because Chestnut Foundation has some wonderful learning boxes that and a good history. We're talking about too, working on some informational boards, some history boards about the American chestnut in Montreat and what the history of that. And for those of you who don't know, at the tree that we did get planted, one of the original 4 back here toward the rain garden, is where we have the signage from the American Chestnut Foundation that talks about the trees.
Maybe we could get a picture of that and put it on our website too, with our crossover to tree board. Thank you so much, Brad. I appreciate your attending to explain. I know that you've been in touch with Samantha, and she's in Asheville. Is that correct? Yeah. Yeah. So she's our local. Oh, it's the headquarters.
Yeah,
I should have
the
known
American
that.
Foundation is based in Asheville.
Oh,
So we're lucky that way. One thing I failed to
cool.
mention.
Thank you.
One thing I failed to mention was there's a new regional scientist for our region for the chestnut thing. I forget her name. She's just coming on board about now, but she will be available within a month or so to be part of this. This is the person that would work closely with us in finding tree sites, doing all the soil analysis and things like that would need to be done to do it really right.
Excellent.
And just help us along the way. So
Thank you. That's excellent. I'm very excited, and we are going over the hour, but I don't care. Now, just briefly, I know that Jason, I'm going to come down to the college update. We don't have those people here. And I do have something from Jason, and I will combine that with the Wilderness Committee of MRA, which is at the bottom. I'd like for you to go ahead and take some leftover paper at the Nichols house, and we're using this. I don't like to use a lot of paper, but the fact that we formatted it differently, Eric was able to do so, and so this can go on to it's probably on the Conference Center website, but it's the beautiful wilderness program of the hiking and the dates, and there shouldn't be enough of that side, but take one. But this is the report that Jason sent to me. Jason sent this out to me personally, and also to Martha and others that are interested. And let's get down to, and Jim, you've already given your report in the nutshell. But the Montreat Trail Club is part of this wilderness, although there's not really a formal trail club. So we come to the Earth Ministry, and Hal, we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I think the only report I have is that I had several good feedbacks from Kiss the Ground, the movie that we sponsored this spring. And anybody like to, if you missed it earlier, it's still on Netflix. And we're starting to plan some environmental program coming up. But Chestnut sounded neat if we don't get a chance to have a presentation by Samantha, something for the town. We might be able to at least get one for the church.
Good, good. Yeah, now Kiss the Ground is an outstanding project that I think Jean or Patty Powell, we were talking about it to share with the the Black Mountain Beautification Committee, and even to have a showing. I wish there was a way we could even do it in this beautiful room with 2 TV screens, but we'll see. Saw Alex's eyebrows go up. You don't know how to do it? Oh, to get a Netflix on your screen? I guess you have to have an account. The Wilderness Committee that I am on and represent the Montreat Cottagers Wilderness and Open Space Committee. I am honored to be with Phil Arnold, with keeps the money for that to protect that property, Rocky Knob. And I am going to be making sure that we can get the extra prints of Rocky Knob that was given out back in 2006 with that wilderness team when they acquired that. And there's a beautiful painting that have prints of some hikers. One is my daughter in it. But I've talked to Suzanne Sloan, and she's in it too. And there's a group of them, but I'd like to maybe revise that one to give information out, even if it was hanging on the wall in the gatehouse, and then to be able to share the history of that purchase from the Montreat Cottagers Wilderness. And I've been trying to figure out how do we deal in open space, and that's a tricky one. That it's kind of one of those go-to words that we want to say, So I talked to Mary Nell, who's the new chairman of the town open space. Right. And so she says, when I get through with my 4-inch notebook, I'll call you. She's in the study stage. Okay. Now our next meeting is in August. I will get back to you. It's possibly that we'll have to have it here. Through the summer, the conference center uses the church of the Allen building, but it's such a wonderful space for us to be using during the school year of the college, because our 2 professors can easily get back and forth by coming in, and they have their 10 o'clock chapel that they have to exit to. So I want to thank everyone today and welcome you back in August, and know that there's going to be some communicating back and forth on emails about the chestnuts, about maybe more of the Landcare brochure. And Jean and I may go down to Lake Tomahawk and check out Black Mountain again with their projects. Any other business or anything we all need? Well, thank you for coming, and appreciate all the work. And again, Alex, thank you for setting this up. Appreciate you. And we look forward to the beautiful paintings of Jim Williamson. I'd like to embarrass him.
Kim, do you have a studio with the right light?